Okay, let's talk about the word absconding. You hear it a lot, right? But today, we're going to completely ignore the rumors, the hallway chatter, and what someone in HR might have told you. We are only going to focus on one thing, the actual black and white text in your corporate documents. What does your contract really say? Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what absconding actually means according to the paperwork. Then, we'll tear apart a real absconding clause, word by word. We'll walk through the company's documented process, map out the written consequences, and figure out what you can control versus what's left to the company. And we'll finish up with a super practical checklist you can use yourself. All right, let's get right into it. What does absconding actually mean? Because it's not just about, disappearing from the office. It's a formal term with a very specific contractual definition that's buried right there in your employment documents. So picture this. An employee just stops showing up. No call, no email, they've gone AWOL, right? Absent without leave. We've all heard the term. But what's really going on behind the scenes from a purely policy and documentation standpoint? Okay, so according to the official HR playbook, absconding isn't just one thing, it's two, and both have to happen. First, you've stopped coming to work for several consecutive days. And second, there's been zero communication, no calls, no emails, nothing. It's that specific combination, the consecutive days plus the silence, that officially flips the switch and labels the situation as absconding. And this is a really important distinction to make. Look at the difference here. Termination, that's the company's move. It's a formal process, they kick it off. But absconding, well, that's seen as an action initiated by the employee. It's basically job abandonment. And believe me, that difference is absolutely crucial because it dictates the entire process and what consequences can legally follow. Okay, so now let's move from the concept to the contract. We're going to look at the actual language that companies use because in these documents, every single word matters. The precise wording isn't just a suggestion, it's the whole ballgame. All right, take a look at this. This is a pretty standard clause you'd find in an employment contract. If the employee remains absent without seeking permission for more than 3 calendar days, the said employee shall be termed as absconding. It's a simple formula, right? Condition, you're absent without permission. Trigger, it's been more than 3 calendar days. Outcome, you're now officially termed absconding. But hang on a second. Let's really zoom in on that one little phrase. For more than 3 calendar days. Seems simple, right? But that one word, calendar, can completely change everything about when this policy actually kicks in. And here's why that word is so powerful. Calendar days includes everything. Weekends, holidays, you name it. So if you're out on a Friday, by Monday morning, boom, you've hit your 3 calendar days. But if your contract says working days, the clock doesn't even start until Monday. That's a huge difference. And it's a perfect example of why you absolutely have to read the fine print in your own contract. So what happens next? Once the company officially considers you to be absconding, what's the procedure? Well, it's usually not some random chaotic thing. There's almost always a predictable timeline, a step-by-step process that's written down in their policy documents. Take a look at this example. It lays out a really clear no-call, no-show process. Day 1, your manager tries to call and email you. Nothing happens. Day 3, the manager officially tells HR. Then look at day 5. This is a key step. A formal show cause notice is mailed out. That's a legal document asking you to explain yourself. It's only after all of that, on day 10, that they'll issue a termination letter. See? It's a formal, documented process, not just someone making a snap decision. Now, it's really important to say this. What we're looking at here are typical examples, especially from corporate India. But the only thing that truly matters is what your specific employment contract says. That document is the ultimate source of truth for your situation. All right, now we're getting to the really crucial part. What are the actual consequences? And I mean the written consequences. We're going to separate reality from rumors. The big question is, what does the document itself say the company is allowed to do? This is where things get really interesting. HR might say something scary, like you'll be blacklisted across the entire industry. But then you look at the actual policy, and what does it say? It says the employee won't be issued a release letter. See the difference? Or they might say your background check will fail. But the document reality is that reference checks may reflect the absconding status. It's not a guarantee of failure. This shows the gap between intimidating language and the actual enforceable written rules. So let's be crystal clear about the consequences that actually have teeth, the ones that are supported by the documents. Things like withholding your salary for the notice period, making you forfeit bonuses or leave pay, taking legal action if you don't return company property, and of course, not giving you those crucial relieving and experience letters. These are policy-level consequences because they are written down. If it's not in the contract, it's not an enforceable action. Okay, this is so important. Let's talk about what you can control versus what you can't. Knowing this helps you focus your energy where it actually makes a difference and not waste it on things that are out of your hands. So what's in your hands? You can absolutely control your paper trail. Send that resignation email. Document your knowledge transfer. Get copies of your clearance forms. This is your proof. But what can't you control? Well, things that the contract says are at the sole discretion of the management, like getting an early release, or what a manager writes in some internal notes. You can't control that. So the smart move is to focus 100% on creating a clean, documented record of everything you can control. And this really gets to the heart of it. Just remember this. Stories and threats about being blacklisted are not the same thing as an enforceable clause written in a contract. One is a fear narrative, the other is a legal reality. So after all of this, what should you do? What's the action plan? Well, it all comes down to knowing your own documents. So let's wrap this up with a simple checklist that you can use to navigate your own situation. Here it is, your action plan. Step 1, pull out your appointment letter. That is your main contract. Step 2, search for the separation or termination section. That's where all the good stuff is. Step 3, verify the exact notice period. Is it 30, 60, or 90 days? Know that number. Step 4, and this is maybe the most important, keep everything in writing. Your resignation email is your best friend here. And finally, step 5, keep proof of everything. Copies of your handover documents, no dues forms, all of it. This is how you build your case. So, I'll leave you with this question. Your job isn't just a job, it's a contract. Do you actually know what yours says? Because in the end, your real power doesn't come from arguing or negotiating. It comes from knowing, cold, what's written on that piece of paper you signed. Read it.